Do you want to find a trad wife? Well, I personally think that men should be screening women just as much, if not more, than the average woman screens the average man. Well, today I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Today, I'm going to go over my own personal criteria for vetting a woman for a serious relationship, aka a woman who I would consider seriously turning into a mother and making her a wife, making her the mother of my kids, starting a family with. So I'm basically going to give you a bunch of red flags to look out for, a bunch of green flags to look out for, so you can pick and choose whatever applies for you and your preferences, so you can help to narrow down your dating options and find a woman you can take more seriously, or you can actually take seriously for a long-term relationship, or wifey mother material. And we're going to save body count for the very end because it's the spiciest one, and I think I have a very unique, interesting take on it that you'll be wanting to listen to. Now, these are in no particular order. They're just as they came to my head and came out of my mouth. So basically, here we go. Does she have a good relationship with her father? I consider that to be a giant green flag. That's something you want to look out for. Does she start folding your clothes and cleaning up after you without being prompted at all? Is that just something she does with zero instruction? Your clothes laying around, she'll fold them up, or she'll wash them, put them away, something like that. That is a huge, huge, huge green flag. That is a woman who has her feminine instincts or her feminine nature in line. She's more feminine than she is masculine, which is actually quite rare to find in the modern Western world. Does she have a million cats? That's a huge red flag. Women who have lots of cats, or even just lots of pets in general, right? Like one, okay, that's fine. But like if she just keeps getting lots of animals and pets, well, that's a clear sign that she has the nurturing instinct in her, but it has been diverted onto pets and animals instead of onto kids and children. On her Instagram, does she have photos of her on a yacht? That's a huge red flag. That means she's probably been a hoe. Now, not every woman who's ever been on a yacht ever is a hoe, but there's a tremendous correlation with women who go on yachts and take photos of them and put them on their Instagram, and women who are whores. Those two things correlate very, very strongly. If she owns a dog, is the dog well trained? That is a giant green flag. If a woman can actually have a dog under control, as opposed to the dog being completely out of control, completely useless, not responsive, not disciplined, or anything like that. But if a woman has a dog breed that is very, very hard to train and very hard to keep control of, and she's got it under control, that's a giant green flag, because that's a woman with patience, that's a woman who's intelligent, that's a woman who doesn't give in to her emotions and spoil the animal with love and affection when it's misbehaving. That's a woman who can be tempered. That's a very, very good green flag. Does she want to live in a big city, or does she want to live in the rural countryside, away from all the nonsense? That one is up to you. That's your call. You have to decide where you want to live. Personally, for me, a giant green flag is a woman who wants to homeschool her kids, a woman who does not want to live in a big city, a woman who wants to live the rural country life on a farm with a bunch of animals and a bunch of kids. Those are all green flags if she aligns with that vision. Did she go to college? Huge red flag, because she's been brainwashed basically for at least 4 years. If she has a college degree and she went to college, she spent 4 years getting indoctrinated with liberal ideology, feminist ideology, basically Marxist ideology for 4 years straight. If you want to take this woman seriously, you're going to have to undo all of this programming, which is a lot of work. It's better to actually find a woman who doesn't have that programming in the first place. Does she do cocaine? Huge red flag. She's probably sucked the dick for it. Does she smoke weed? Huge red flag. She's probably also sucked the dick for it. And on top of that, if she smokes weed regularly, habitually, then she's going to be lazy. She's going to be not like on point intellectually. She does cocaine all the time. It's again, it's an addictive habit, probably parties a lot. Very, very negative lifestyle correlations to both of those drugs. Also, well, here, I might as well say, does she drink a lot? Also a huge red flag. Women who get boozy all the time, they tend to have slept around quite a lot. Does she have some kind of entanglement still with her ex? I don't know, they've got like a mortgage together, or a lease together, or they share an animal together, or there's some kind of still entanglement there. There wasn't like a clean break between her and her ex. She still has to like contact him or be involved with him in some way, shape, or form. In my opinion, that's a massive red flag, because it makes moving on and having a life and a relationship with you, it's like this ball and chain that they're dragging behind as they're trying to come into the relationship with you. It's better to have like a clean separation from any exes. Was she raised religiously, or does she have religion in her life? I would call this a green flag. However, the caveat here is that she can't have any resentment towards that religion. A lot of girls that I know of who were raised very strictly religious. They became resentful towards it, particularly because of the way Christian religious practices in particular, for some reason, like frame sex, and they rebelled against it as teenagers by sleeping around a bunch. And maybe they came to God later on in life, like after, when in their late 20s or 30s or whatever, and they were magically able to find a guy at the church. But the problem is, he's not very aware of her past, shall we say, and the ramifications that come along with that promiscuous past. But again, I would say if she's religious in general, it's a green flag. However, the caveat is, was she resentful in some way during her upbringing around religion? Her being raised religiously is a very good thing, because there's typically going to be a lot of positive traits that are associated with that, and feminine ones that are associated with that. Depends upon the church, obviously, or depends upon the religion as well, but all these little exceptions and caveats aside, if she's religious, it's a green flag. Is she resistant to media brainwashing and propaganda? Does she not buy the bullshit, basically? That is a giant green flag. That is a woman who's not easily programmed by mainstream society, so she's probably going to be less of a feminist. She's probably going to be more traditional. Does she want to be a mother and have a family? Huge green flag. That's a woman you can take seriously. Does she take care of her health and her fitness? That's a huge green flag. That's a woman you can take seriously. Does she know how to cook? That is a fantastic green flag. She's going to make a wonderful wife, wonderful mother, and a very healthy one too. If she knows how to cook well, that means that she can cook healthy foods for both you and your children. Health, man, like I cannot stress this enough. It's something that we've been like screwed over with through the standard Western diet, through the quality of our food, through, you know, artificial flavorings, preservatives, a whole bunch of things I could talk about. But in general, for me personally, it's a massive priority that I ensure that my children grow up healthy. Is she racist? That's a green flag. I'm joking. Or am I? Is she rude to the wait staff if you go out to a restaurant? That's a giant red flag. I don't think I even need to explain that one. Being rude to wait staff is just unacceptable. Is she a single mother? That's a red flag. Sorry guys. I don't know why any man would date a woman or take a woman seriously who already has a kid with somebody else. Like, it's not my job to look after another man's ejaculate. The caveat is, you don't also have kids. I actually think that's the one situation that works, is single mothers should be pairing up with single fathers, in my opinion, because that actually can work. A dude with no kids shouldn't be shacking up with a woman who has kids already, if he actually gives a shit about having a family, because he doesn't care about his own genetic legacy, obviously, because he's raising another man's kids. Is she well traveled, let's say? I consider that a red flag. Typically, women are flown around places by dudes, and each time she's flown to a different place by a dude, there's probably some sex involved, right? There's a few caveats to that, like her father was rich and took her around places. Okay, yeah, that's not really a problem. That's acceptable. I personally want to be the guy who shows a woman the world. I want to show her all these new fun experiences. And let's just say, even if she was well traveled and she didn't sleep around or anything, but now there's nothing for me to show her. Like, it takes the fun out of it. I want to be able to show her the world. Does she have a high body count? I would say that's a red flag. But here's the caveat. Here's my unique opinion on this. How on earth are you even going to tell? A woman is never going to be honest with you about this in the first place. So there's certain things that you are going to have to kind of look out for, which are indicators of a woman who has had a high body count. And age isn't actually an indicator of this either, by the way, because you can have a girl who's 30 years old who just had, like, 3 back-to-back long-term relationships, and that's the only sex she's ever had. She's had 3 partners, but she's 30 years old. I've met 19-year-old girls in Miami with a body count of 50. I kid you not. Age isn't really indicative of body count. I mean, in general, the older they are, they're more likely to have more partners, but it's just not as clear-cut as you'd think it would be. Now, here's my controversial opinion on this. Yes, a high body count typically is a bad sign, right? The reason it's a bad sign is because she's going to be less compliant to you. She's going to be less pair bonded to you. She's going to love you less because she's just like subconsciously, not even consciously, subconsciously, in subtle ways, she is going to be comparing you to, like, not all the dudes she had sex with, but the ones that she considers higher value, shall we say, than you. The ones that were more attractive than you, that she's had in her past, she's going to be comparing you subconsciously to these guys. So the more things there are to compare to, the less likely you are going to be her best option in her mind. Whether she's consciously thinking this or unconsciously, it doesn't actually matter. It's still there in her brain. You're never going to know what her number is. She's never going to tell you. Guys, for example, will consider, like, a girl sucking a dick as a body. Women won't consider that, and they'll just consider only penetrative sex, for example. So she's never going to be honest with the number. The number doesn't matter. What matters is how compliant she is to you. Does she see you as the love of her life? Does she see you as the best man she has ever actually been with? And you can tell this through how compliant she is to your instructions. Does she follow your lead, basically? Or is she very confrontational and disagreeable with you? If she's very confrontational and disagreeable with you, well, then that's a massive, massive red flag. There's 2 things you'll notice about this list I just gave you. One is that tits and ass did not appear on it anywhere. That should not be a criteria, in my opinion, for, deciding whether to have a serious long-term relationship with a woman and have kids with a woman. The second thing you'll notice is I probably listed a lot more red flags than green flags. By the way, this is how women vet men as well, women are constantly looking to disqualify a guy, basically. And I think men could benefit from taking a somewhat similar approach. Typically, men are looking for any reason to qualify a woman to be his partner. I think it's a smarter idea to take a different approach and look for reasons to disqualify that woman. Look for the red flags to disqualify her as a potential long-term partner, because then you're going to be avoiding a whole world of pain. It's more important that what a woman isn't than what she is, because women have to preserve their value, whereas men have to create their value. So with the red flag thing, you're looking out for ways in which she has compromised her value and basically hasn't preserved her femininity. Now, let's say you did find your ideal woman and you vetted her properly. Here's a video you can watch next. She'll show you 3 tips to make her orgasm and fall in love with you instantly.